Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful light warriors, old souls, and evolving beings alike. Today I want to talk to you about hypnosis. Is hypnosis actually real? Does it work? Is it a valid therapy? My short answer is absolutely. Hypnosis is phenomenal. It is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Now, like all tools, you want to use it properly. So, I know many of you now have heard of hypnosis, may have experienced some, but I bet if you listen to the end of this video, you will even pick up some trade secrets and some tips. So, when I was in private practice, as well as having my PhD and was working as a psychologist, I was a certified hypnotherapist. Now, I became interested in hypnotherapy at a really young age. Probably around 10 or 11, I started researching and coming upon what at that time was known as parapsychology. And I happened upon Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce astounded me because something in my soul told me with all the dreams that I was having, and I am a vivid dreamer, which I will share in another video. But with all the dreams I was having, and how much I believed in a world outside of the world I was living in, he literally, Edgar Cayce, fascinated me. So I started reading and reading and reading, and through Edgar Cayce, somehow I happened upon books by Carl Jung. Now, by 16 or 17, I was really well versed in all of this. Who does that at that age? But I literally could not put Carl Jung's books down. Anything related to symbols, dreams, the unconscious, the anything, collective unconscious, souls, you name it, I was reading and whipping through it. So, ironically, it is not until about 5 years ago that I heard about this phenomenal woman, Dolores Cannon. What a soul. What an individual, and what a body of work. Now, I have not read all of her material simply due to time and the fact that it's really only been so many years since I've heard about her. But in some level, we must have had parallel lives because the work that I was doing back then in my practice was so similar now, I came to find out as to what her books are all about. Now, she went way further into how far back our souls go and different planets and all these other things. My practice was really focused on helping people with medical illnesses, work through death and dying, phobias, traumas, those types of things. So I'm going to share just a couple of stories to help you feel more comfortable with hypnosis because today we need to support all the different therapies that are becoming available and online. And these therapies are being offered by individuals whose heart center is so pure, they make phenomenal, phenomenal therapists. So I don't want people getting trapped in the old theory of if you are going to a specific psychologist or a psychiatrist or a medical professional, you don't have to be limited. Now, thank heavens, many psychologists, even medical practitioners, are exploring these areas. And to bring those two fields together and shed light on them is a phenomenal thing to do. So let me go back to my practice. In my practice, I started by always giving a free consult. Now, yes, that was generous of me. Plus, I'd like to know the people I was working with, get a feel for them, and get a feel for whether or not I really wanted to put my time and energy into their needs. I'm going to be blunt, and I would have never said this years ago, but some people simply do not want help. Their life is based on enjoying their illness, whether it's mental or physical, and getting attention from it. So my therapy practice was so very different because to me, my job was to get people in and out as quickly as possible. It was not about having a client for years and years and years. And of course, this went completely against the teachings. So, in this quick initial consultation, which would take about 15 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on what I needed to figure out, the very first thing I did was something called a finger test. And in that, within seconds, with a simple command, I could tell if the client would be a good hypnotherapy patient or not. Now, the crazy, fascinating, wonderful part is there are some clients, some people who are something called somnambulists. You give them one command and poof, they're out. And they are the ones, from what I gather, Dolores Cannon was working with and finding when she was getting some of this other work done. I was simply looking for how I could help the individual with that phobia, for example. But somnambulists, if you got one of those, you were so excited because you knew you could do one session, they would immediately be cured, and talk about the best advertising ever, which is why I never needed to place an ad, is a somnambulist. So, for example, if a smoker came into your office, you put them under for one session, they walked out and never touched a cigarette again. What are they going to do? They're going to tell absolutely every friend about your services. That's the way marketing used to be in the old days. Now, here's a little secret. When you go into a big group, and let's say you're going to a theatrical show, a magic show, or a hypnosis show, and that hypnotist or magician is standing up and talking to the audience, they are actually able to give cues. And somnambulists will automatically respond. So, what they're doing when they're picking a person to go up on stage is they're asking a broad audience, they're watching everybody in the audience, and then they're giving the command that ends up bringing up the somnambulist, which is why this show can be so amazing. And you can look at it and you're like, no, this is fake. This is not real. But it actually is real because somnambulants go so deep into their state that you can tell them they're a football player and tell them to go catch a ball. And they may be completely non athletic. And all of a sudden, they're able to go run along and catch a ball. So, working with somnambulists is actually an honor and something really incredible to do, but you never ever take advantage of your patient. And I'll talk about that a little bit at the end because I want to stay more with the fun topic of how hypnosis can help. So, a patient came to me and she was young. I think she was like 18 years old and she was finishing up high school and really wanted to go to university and was thinking about wanting to go work with dolphins. And her problem which was odd because in so many ways she was pretty balanced. And she could not get into a bathtub or into enclosed spaces. And therefore, being confined, sometimes even driving, sometimes walking into certain buildings, sometimes just being in a space and thinking for a second that she might be confined, she would fall apart. And I'm talking fall apart, tears and crying and not being able to breathe and not being able to function and literally just falling to pieces. So I met with her one time, and she was not a somnambulist, but as after doing the test on her, I figured it would take 2 to 3 sessions just to get her deep enough and comfortable enough in hypnosis to be able to work with her. Well, lo and behold, on the third beautiful session, got her into a really deep hypnosis, and she left this world and went back to a lifetime in I think it was the 50s. I can't remember the dates. It's irrelevant at this point. But she went back to this time, and she started walking through a building. And in that building, she was saying, oh no, it's happening. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And little by little, I was able to walk her through where the trauma had started. And the trauma had started that she was in an old building. They had very little money, and she had gone upstairs to a higher floor and settled into a bathtub, and the bathtub fell through the floor. And she was killed. So, once you understand that there is a huge possibility that a trauma that you suffer from today could have existed prior to you arriving to this planet in a past life. Of course, that means I have to get you to agree there are past lives, but we're just going to assume it for now. What happened is I was able to not only walk her through it, but I did the entire process of bringing her back safely, letting go, being able to function. That was no longer an issue. Brought her back, and sure enough, she was healed. It was never a problem again. We didn't need another session. She sent me a note about 6 months afterwards. She had moved on. And nothing is more rewarding than helping someone through a phobia. So what I'm asking of you is to keep an open mind. There are so many things out there that we may not understand. To this date, I'm not sure if anyone can explain why a somnambulist is one, because they're very rare. So they're not the norm. When you go through these sessions, you could go through 100 people before you find one. And to my knowledge, I don't know if Dolores Cannon, in all honesty, answered this, or if someone else has. But the fact is, they do exist, and there are deeper levels of hypnosis. Now, when you're looking to find a therapist, you want someone you can trust, obviously, because they're going into the depths of your mind. And some people, this just will not work for because they just cannot trust. And that's fine. Find another form of therapy. There are many new ones coming out. But for a person who can build a bond or a relationship with the psychologist, the therapist, the light worker, the hypnotist, whatever you want to call them, this can be an incredible tool to help move you through a place that you're stuck. And the beauty is, if it's done properly, you will actually leave that phobia permanently. It will never be a phobia again. How beautiful is that? So I want to give a shout out because there is a new form, probably not new, but again, I haven't been in practice for many years. There's something called QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And more people are doing this. So I can't give you specific names at this point, but everyone has access to the internet and information. So I highly recommend looking more into this area, discovering more about it. Please have an open mind, because hypnosis really does work. And as a warning, never, ever listen to a hypnosis tape while you're driving. Take it seriously, work through your issues, because the whole point is we want everyone on planet Earth as healthy, happy, joyful, living their full life. So I send you nothing but love.